Okay, this is a very quick clip about macros. Again, one of the most watched clips I have. Not that I care about the watch count, but the thing that people are keen to know about is dealing with macros, and I don't like dealing with them. Um, uh, but this will hopefully help you, and I would recommend you watch it with the other clip about macros. It's the first one I ever did. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Offsec Proving Grounds box craft for this, and the situation of the box is there's this site called Craft. You upload your CV in a Word document, or resume, as my cousins on the other side of the pond like to call it, and then every 10 seconds there's some automation that's going to open your resume and and open it basically, and the macro in that resume is going to kick off, uh, and what I've got it to do, as per a few investigations I've done, is download PowerCat, which is a netcat version for PowerShell, use PowerCat to then send back a reverse shell to a listener. So that's what we're going to do very briefly. I'm not going to go through the whole box. So this is the site, and you've got this section here. I should zoom in a touch. So I don't know if this matters, but I've just I tried uploading a file that has nothing to do with it, but essentially um, I just wanted it to be reset. So I've got let me go in LibreOffice, and um, we want to make a Word document. So I've got doc2, I've got boss CV. I'm going to make a new document called um, I, uh, YouTube demo. How about that? YT YTD. That'll do. YTD, and save that. And I know this is might be quite small. Don't worry, I'll explain what as small as in the font. I'll explain what is going on um, as I do it. So um, so we've got my YTD doc, and I just need to go into macros. There might be some old ones. I just want to create a basic. So you go macros, organize macros, basic, and then I click into my document. This might be different for spreadsheets, or LibreOffice calls them calcs. I don't know, but we want to make a new macro, and I'm going to call this nasty, and press OK. Right, so we've got this macro editor. Wonder if I can zoom in on this. No. Yeah, cool. So, right, and I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. Come back, macro editor. There you are. Okay. Right. Uh, okay. So essentially, all we're doing is running a shell command. We're going to call PowerShell. It's going to invoke something expression. I can't remember what the E stands for. Basically, create a web client object and then download this string, or I should say, this is the download string it's going to download. So it's going to come to my listening server where I've got PowerCat available, and then it's going to execute PowerCat and just come back to the same IP but on a different port, which will be 443, and it's going to execute PowerShell. So that's all this macro is going to do. A thing that I was cautious of, that's probably the right term, when I did this, was I thought that all macro commands had to be less than 50 characters long, but this clearly isn't the case, which is I don't know. Now it's just voodoo because I don't know what to believe anymore. Um, so that's just something to be mindful of. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. If you watch the other video that I did, you had to make the string 50 characters long. So I'm not, maybe it's dealing with strings, needs to be 50 characters long. I don't know. Another macro I tried, which didn't work, it partially worked, is this. So I just tried cert util. It did download. I mean, how I got this to work eventually is I had to split these two shell commands into two different LibreOffice documents. Send one with that line, which is just calling cert util to download. S43 is just the way I code the names of MSF Venom shells that I've created, that 43 is going to listen on 443. If I had S4, it'd listen on 444. But essentially, it downloaded it fine and wrote it to Windows tasks. And then afterwards, I had to create a new macro that would just then go and run it. And that did work, but it isn't too elegant. Um, I don't know, I was like sort of exploring that 50 character limit thing. Anyway, I digress. This is the one we're going to try. So, going to save that. And then this is the macro editor, and we go back into our document. You customize the document, you go to events, and currently, because this is a new document, we don't have anything. If we had the old macro, what I did do every time, and maybe I'm overdoing it, you'll see. In fact, I'll show you. So we go to our YTD doc, standard, nasty. Yes, that's the one we want, and we want to assign it on the event of the document being opened. And what I did every time I redid this, or every time I edited the macro, I would have this selected, I would remove it, and then I would go back in this same, like this basically. I'd go remove, and then I'd select the macro again. I'd say yes, that's the one I want, reassign it, and then press OK. So I don't think this needs any text, but we'll just put some in anyway. So now, because in LibreOffice, you probably can't see because it's really small, but there'll be a red dot on the floppy disk icon, which means you need to save it. So Control S, save that. Now it flashed and then the red dot's gone. So we've got a YTD demo. So I'm just going to minimize this or put it down there. Then we need our PowerCat server. So I've got an alias called WimTools now, and that just basically runs the Python server. It goes to this directory where I've got all my Windows immediate tools, which is a thing I've seen other people do, and coincidentally I've also been doing. It's quite handy. I'd have another one for Linux tools, and then it just prints out a couple of boilerplate commands and basically starts a web server. So it tells you what you've got as well. So it's just an alias. I think I've covered it in another video. So we can see I've got PowerCat in there. Right. I like to open my shells on a completely separate terminal window. So, and LST is just a listener, a wrapper around Penelope, and I give it a port number, and then it will start running Penelope on port 443, as you can see there. So we're going to serve up PowerCat. We're going to wait for the callback, and normally I sort of prep these over and over again. I haven't this one. So you can see all my previous attempts and stuff. So YTD, we're going to open it 10 seconds after upload, approximately it should come back to here. So we'll just upload that now. So your resume was submitted. It will be reviewed shortly after by our staff. So that's about 2 seconds. 3, 4, I'm not going to count, but you get the idea. There you go. Server's got it and the shell's got it. So now with Penelope, sometimes it will present straight away, sometimes you have to press enter, and there you go. So you've got a shell. So that's more macro madness. I don't think there's anything else to add with that. Specifically around this box, you don't need to you don't need to revert it. It wasn't as brittle as the previous one. I don't know what that is, but yeah, other than that, happy hacking.